Okay, we're live. Yeah, so I'm gonna be working on more like physics refactoring stuff today. I've actually done quite a bit of work on the Mesh Collider editor since the last stream. One. When it let's see. There we go. For some reason the microphone wasn't working. Or at least it didn't look like it was working. But yeah, so I've been doing this. Oh no, it's okay, so it's probably just because I tab out of Streamlabs, it doesn't update the audio levels. That's mildly annoying. Yeah, for some reason. I'm assuming it's working. One second. Just gotta verify. Yeah, it does seem to be working. Yeah, cool. Bring that back. Okay, yeah. I actually want to do a bit of overhaul of rigid body components, because currently the way it's working right now is not great. Because the way it currently works is, I'm just gonna go ahead and create a test scene as well. So the way it currently works is that I'm gonna turn down the music volume a bit. There we go. What's up, Eddie? But yeah, so the way it currently works is if you don't add a rigid body to an entity but you have a collider, it will be a static rigid body. The problem is that if you add a rigid body to it, it will always be dynamic or kinematic. There's no way to tweak these settings for a static rigid body, which isn't great. And it also caused issues with the physics layers, which is why I had to move those into a separate component, which isn't great. So I'm gonna be quickly fixing that up before I start working on bringing the kind of new mesh collider system into the rest of the engine, because right now it's completely contained. Just gonna save that. I actually have quite a decent to-do list of things that I need to do the refactoring. One of which is to convert these booleans into a bit field, into basically just a bunch of flags. So we have to expose this body type, and I think we're going to convert these into a flag right now, actually, because I think we have somewhere, is it physics types? Yeah, we have these lock flags that we can just use, because they're used by kind of internally by the scripting engine, so we might as well use them in the component itself. And I may actually end up doing a bit of a refactoring of the physics actor class as well. So this right now I think is a signed 32-bit integer. Can probably make that like a 16-bit. No, 16-bit. Could potentially even make it an 8-bit value, because that would give us 255 possible values, which is probably enough. What value do I get if I do that? Okay, yeah, should be cool. So let's leave it as an 8-bit unsigned integer. Lock flags. That should be fine. And I love that I was able to get Visual Assist installed. It's a pre-trial, but still, it's so nice. There we go. So the first thing I'm going to expose up here is, alright, we have to, that's for multi-editing, so we may as well get it. Type, which I think we're gonna have to convert that into no, it should be fine to just use the raw value. And so what this line of code does is it's kind of the thing that lets us draw special kind of text for values if we have multiple entities selected. maybe you already know, but and also have and enum as bit masks that let you use directly bit masks operation in enums. Really? I wasn't actually aware of that. Let's take a look at, see if there's some documentation on it. I mean, you can basically do, you can already do bit mask operations on enums though, or enum classes at least. Crash course core functionalities. Yeah, I mean you can already do it if you store it as an integer. Enum as bit mask. Yeah, exactly. It's just they don't convert implicitly to the type, so you have to cast it. Really? Let's actually give that a shot, because that looks quite interesting. I assume I'd still have to store it as an integer. Well, no. You straight up just store it as the type. So if I come in here and just slap that in there, which do we haven't in here? Maybe? But yeah, no, that's actually really cool that you can do that. So it's in enum.cpp. Do we not have... Oh yeah, the HPP. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have it. It might be a recent addition. I'm guessing it's a recent addition. What's up, Echo? Because we haven't updated it in a while, so sadly I can't actually use that. It's a really cool thing though. Just slap this in and no need to cast anymore. But yeah, guess I'm gonna have to store log flags as an unsigned integer still. Also, thank you. So, let's drop down, and we should have one that just takes, yeah, an enum and an underlying type. Although that would also make the non-value selectable. Which, why do we even have that? Why do we have none? You should never have this. And also I shouldn't use the Visual Studio one anymore. I should be using Shift Alt F. Probably gonna rebind that. We do return it. I don't like this. We should be throwing exceptions at this point. Not returning a valid value. I mean, it's technically an invalid value, but still, we should definitely throw. Yeah, I don't like that. Although it is -1, and we start from 0 in the dropdowns, I think. It costs it, and we can't have -1. So yeah, that should actually be fine. Thanks. Let's just do type. And we have static and dynamic. See, this is actually where very basic kind of reflection would come in handy. Because if we could like get all the values of an enum, isn't that? It's just type. Apparently it's just type. The option 2. And the selected one, which is first component dot body type. And if it's play mode, we basically have to recreate the actor completely. Not having a reflection is the real pain with C++. Yeah, and to be honest, like there are obviously some reflection libraries out there that add kind of rudimentary reflection, or well, it simulates reflection. And I think most of those are pretty awful, but not that good. But yeah, reflection is an incredibly powerful tool to have. Although I think they were kind of talking about adding that at some point. Experimental feature, yeah. So it seems like they're playing around with it a bit. Context. Physics scene. Okay. Thank you. Let's see here. Remove actor. Or sorry. even and to have something, but you need to manually define everything and register it at startup. Yeah, that's basically how the majority of reflection libraries work. So, at least in terms of C++, because there's not really a good way of kind of getting that to work without having to do everything manually. Yeah, I doubt we're gonna see any kind of decent reflection support in C++ for quite some time. So do I just not have a way of removing the actor for an entity? Well, I think we have like a get actor or something. Yeah. We can get the actor for an entity and then remove it, which is not great. I want to be able to call it remove actor and give it an entity. Yeah, I mean, we literally call get actor pretty much everywhere where we use this, so we may as well make it so it takes in an entity. Because you want to remove the actor for an entity. And if you have the actor, you can always get the entity. Like create actor takes an entity. So this makes a lot more sense, because then we can just do start by finding it. And we then want physics actor. That proper syntax? I'm always, I can never remember how, like if iterators use arrow operator or dot. I think it's dot. Nope, it's not. 1 second. So we have the actor, we make sure it's valid, we remove it. Probably verify this at the start. And we can just do this. Well, no, we can't, because we actually want to handle it a bit better. We'll leave the assert in and we'll just return. Grab that, we make sure that's valid, we remove it. At this point, it should just be safe to call erase. So in here, we just do entity. What? Okay. Soft Edge, thanks for following. Also, the sound on that one was pretty delayed. So we remove the actor, and then we want to recreate it. We call create actor. Pretty sure that's how we're gonna have to do it. Adventix, what's up, man? So that's the body type, and let's go down and update this absolute mess. Just got home. Yeah, I'm alright. I've been pretty much just working on this all day. But yeah, no, everything's good. Also, I think with this, arguably, this should be false, so we don't default them to be open. But whatever. I'm gonna have to extract all of these Boolean values though. Unless we kind of change it up and make it so that you kind of manually set the flags, but that's... Nah, I mean, actually working on the same thing all day, it's kind of fun, I think. I have a clear kind of goal of what I need to do, and so it's kind of relaxing in a way. Right. This is gonna be a problem. Because I need to actually extract the particular flag from this. Which I think we just do and. And of course I paused it. Yeah, I kind of don't like that this is an absolutely humongous line of code. Suppose I could break the lambda to a new line. It looks kind of ugly though. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. I think I want to write a little wrapper around this, maybe. Alright, kind of like pushing consistent value, maybe. Because the idea is you would do that, and you would probably give it like bool and rigid body component, and then you would just pass in a lambda, sorry, like this. Instead of having to write this absolutely huge line of code. Because this is potentially functionality that we would want in other parts of the engine as well, not just here. And currently all of these kind of is inconsistent primitive stuff is right here. I mean, this isn't that much better, to be honest, but well, actually, it is. That compared to this, it's quite a bit. Still absolutely massive. And we can probably work on the naming. Are you not allowed to push the scope onto the new line? Like the scope of the lambda, like this, basically. Like this is perfectly fine by our coding standards. But the thing is, we have lines that just get so much more massive than this, I think. And it might be good. Like, yeah, you can see some of these lines are really large. And it's just kind of good to take this functionality and bring it out so that the rest of the engine can access it, because you may want it for other kind of panels and stuff like that. I think I'm actually gonna want to write a kind of abstract this away, although I'm not gonna do it right now, I don't think. I might do that tomorrow. Yeah, why have the scope block also behind the already long line? Yeah, exactly. So I'm probably gonna leave it like this for now, and tomorrow start working on abstracting it away. Although I still need to get these as Boolean values, I think. Right, so I'd still need to do still have to do this effectively for the first component. It will kind of end up being a bit more ugly, but it does also allow us to save a lot of space in here, because instead of having, you know, what, 6 booleans, we have a single 8-bit integer. And it kind of fits with the internal engine a bit better. But we'd still end up with, you know, this, effectively. Unless there's like a better way of extracting these kind of values that I don't know about, but for now I'm just doing this. And why are those flipped? Yeah, but like, someone let me know if there's a better way of kind of dealing with this situation. Because what I have to do now, first of all, replicate this in all these places. That. Right. If translation x or equals that, to disable it. It could add a little helper function in the component, but not a big deal. Definitely gonna do this though. Could technically format this to be on a single line by setting it equal to itself and either and or that. But yeah, it doesn't matter too much. We get the actor. Okay, yeah, I like this a bit more than what I had before. And then we get to rotation. Cool. Let's give that a build and see if it works. I don't think it will, but because I've only updated like half the code. Also, I just realized I'm now reached 200 followers on Twitch. Thanks to Soft Edge. So, thank you again, Soft Edge. Yeah. I mean, mostly in physics actor. Yeah, because I think this is gonna be quite a bit simplified now. because as long as it's not you'd just be able to set it to this basically. Yeah, that's awesome. I can straight up get rid of that. Do component lock flags is equal to m lock flags, which is does not need to be a 32-bit integer, it can be an 8-bit. Yeah, that should literally be all we have to do there. And here I think I should just be able to run this. Set lock flags equal to the actor lock flags, and then make sure we set them on the actor. That's all we have to do. So I can get rid of this, do if is dynamic, which it should already be. Let's do it down here. We do should just be that. Alright, still have to update the scene serializer. So we do have to support this. And I think I can just do I need to do that. Would that work? But this is only if let's do this. We do auto lock flags node. If we have a lock flags node, we do that. Otherwise, we really read in the old style. So here we just do if you don't need to keep compatibility for all files, you can just save view in AT value in a single field. Yeah, so we do kind of need to keep compatibility. We need to at least be able to load scenes, right? But that's kind of why I'm doing this log flags, because I'm just going to serialize it as a single thing, right? So if we have a log flags node, then we just grab the value and we'll default it to 0 in case it's invalid. Right, and up here we can actually just get rid of this code completely. We can get rid of the constraints map as well. And straight up just do there. That should in theory be everything. So yeah, actually keeping it as kind of a pit field, well, guess that's not everything. But yeah, keeping everything as a pit field cuts down on like size and stuff like that so much. Oh. Yeah, that's no longer a boolean. That shouldn't be a boolean. That should now be fine. And it is. Seems to have loaded just fine. Take a look at the player. It does serialize correctly, or deserialize at least. If I check that one, yep, seems to work just fine. And we should also have a type, which currently won't work. And if we take a look at, do we have anything that is dynamic? Door? No. Guess not. Well, I can test that later. So, okay. Physics layer. Time to bring that back into the rigid body component. Because it's no longer, it doesn't need to be its own thing. Yeah. Right. This whole thing is gonna need to be reverted. So let's do this. This under type. In theory, that should just work. Kinematic actors only works for dynamic actors, so we should probably hide those if it's a static actor. But let's just, and this, no way this will actually go. Did it keep my error list? Yeah, it did. Alright, so that goes away. This a reference? No, it isn't. That's a bit of a pain. I'll actually need to do entity get component. Okay. The scene serializer. Where are we serializing the rigid body component? Down here. Right. This actually needs to happen after the rigid body component. Because in case we still have this, we need to get rigid body components and set that. And just bring this back and make it a bit better. Like that. And it's layer ID. What on earth is this? Yeah, again, we don't need to do this. We can do that and say worst case it's going to be 0, I think. Yeah, like that. That looks a bit better. Right. Physics. Rigid. Not scripting, sorry. Rigid body components. That. That. Last file. We don't need that. Nope. Cool. Should be fine now. We're not. Oh. Right. I like the comment, this code is a bug generator. Yeah, I think that's in here, right? Yeah. Again, a place where reflection would be awesome. Or at least some kind of global map of these types. So in this case, what we want to do is if it doesn't have, right, so, and this doesn't have a rigid body component on type, then we want to do, no, actually we want to do this code no matter what. This code we only want to do if we don't already have a rigid body component, right? Because that meant it used to be a static, and we're gonna set this to default to static now. Now it should be fine. Hopefully I can get through this list, kind of be done with the physics refactor pretty soon, because I had something I really want to get started working on after I'm done with this, and it's something that's going to take quite a while to implement, so I'm hoping that I can just kind of fly through this list and get it working like within a week. It's kind of the goal. So I'm probably going to be streaming like every day this week, just constantly working on this stuff. because I need to get it done. Well, this is not the correct way for it to look, but it is. Yeah, it does look like it's working. If I have a look at the ghost prefab, we should see that be on a, yep, the layer deserialization is working. Awesome. Is it perhaps networking? Well, I'm afraid I cannot say. But, I mean, networking is kind of high on our priority list. So that's definitely going to be worked on quite soon. Right, in here. I do not want the no label one. I want that. And it takes an option count and the selected one. So those two go away. And option count is layer names dot size. And that is correct. Cool. We now have that back up and running. So we can tick that. Okay, I did not need to close that. What I need to do now is in, I think, physics scene. Yeah, here. Because you now have to explicitly give physics actors an actual rigid body. We no longer have kind of implicit rigid bodies. So in here, initialize scene. This should, in theory, be everything we have to do. Because you should never have a collider that doesn't have a rigid body. We could technically support kind of implicit rigid bodies still, if we wanted to. That way, if you kind of want like a cube that's just static, like this, if I create a, do we have a night? No, we don't have a plane. There we go. And we scale that up. You gotta love the bloom. Oh. Yeah, this is a problem. It's a slight side effect. everything becomes rigid bodies. Yeah, I don't think there's a way for me to do this that doesn't break some stuff. Because this is happening because of this line of code. All entities now have a physics layer component. And because they don't have a rigid body component, we give them one. So maybe if it doesn't have a rigid body component and it doesn't have any colliders, then we just kind of ignore it. How am I gonna do this in such a way that it doesn't break everything? I don't think there is a way. Like, I could check here that so if we don't have a rigid body component, but we have any kind of collider component, then it's fine. But the thing is, you could set it up so that the children have colliders, and that would make the parent a rigid body. I'm just gonna do this. Capsule mesh collider. That it? Box sphere capsule mesh collider. Yeah. This will make it slightly better, but it's still gonna break a lot of scenes in some way. It might just be easier to kind of not have this backwards compatibility crap, and just make it so you just have to go through all of the entities and fix them. Could write a little tool that will do that for you, but yeah, whatever. These no longer have that. This one should have one, and it's a dynamic one actually, which is interesting. But yeah, so if I create a plane, we need to start serializing these settings. Oops. Tone down bloom and hit simulate. It does work. But the current issue is, if I wanted this to be an actor, right? And so, like, if I want this to be a collidable object, I give it a box collider. But because I haven't given it a rigid body, it typically would not actually collide. The thing is, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it does in fact collide now, because we have kind of this implicit way of handling colliders that do not have rigid bodies, and we do that in here. So we go through all entities in the scene, ignore the ones that have a rigid body or character controller, and if it doesn't have any components, any colliders, we ignore it. Here we figure out if we have a parent that has a rigid body, and if we do, we fail. Otherwise, we create a static actor. And I don't actually need that in there. Right? And the thing is, I like this, because it means you can create a bunch of collidable objects by just giving them a collider and not having to worry about a rigid body. But you can also give them an explicit rigid body. So why do we ignore parents that have... Well, why do we ignore... Okay, so we go through the children here. Ignore the ones that have a rigid body. Which technically, it's not... Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about how I want this to work as well. But essentially, if we have a child that has a collider and it doesn't have a rigid body, then it kind of acts as the parent's collider. It's probably easier to just show it. So this cube has a rigid body. If I go and create a sphere, we have a sphere, we have a mesh source, let's give it a static. Right, if I do this, hit simulate, the sphere kind of becomes part of the parent's rigid body. If I were to give the sphere a rigid body, and right now it doesn't matter if it's static or not, yeah, that does. By the way, aren't the colliders deserialized after you check? They might be. Yes, they are. So we actually have to check this down here. Thank you for mentioning that, So's. And one day I'm gonna learn to pronounce your name correctly. So this is technically correct now. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to tweak the way rigid bodies kind of are parented. I'm probably gonna have to look at how Unity and Unreal deals with that, because I'm not sure what the kind of most intuitive way is. Because this, if the child has a dynamic rigid body, it just looks weird because it's technically parented, which I don't think it should be. If I make it static, it kind of behaves exactly how I expect it to, right? But yeah. Let's check here. If it's a dynamic rigid body, we want to do kinematic. I think collision detection applies to static actors as well. That's physics scene. No. That only applies to dynamic ones as well. So mass doesn't really apply, linear drag doesn't apply, don't think. Let's start with these. Yeah, no, basically none of this applies to a static rigid body. Yes, exactly what I want.
Keep the same energy. Work on being better when I'm 70. Your drip is just a water spring. You know I drip different, just the 7 seas. I deal with life different, make that limit squeeze. Went off for my style and identity. Better bounce back and get the cheddar cheese. I guess that's why they envy me.
Make it static. We only have type and layer. We may want some other stuff there as well in the future. And if it's, yeah.
I got his band like I'm buried.
Okay. So let's check this. Converting the old mesh colliders to use the new cooking system. Could be interesting. Could break quite a lot of things, but yeah. I'm kind of wondering if we should just leave them to kind of do their own thing. Because currently if we go into the cooking factory here, we basically have two variants of these three functions. One that takes in just a mesh, and one that takes in an actual mesh collider asset, right? So these are the new ones that have settings and that kind of stuff. These do not have that. So, yeah, that's the one. That means that these are kind of a bit like almost on the buggy side now, because we've changed kind of the cooking parameters as well. So it would probably be good to convert those and kind of give them some defaults. Well, we can set up some defaults here. So for an example, the pre-processed params. Actually, I don't think we need to change anything here. The defaults should probably be fine. But I don't like having two versions, right? So that's not the one. The mesh cache, for example, uses the old system. Which is not good. That's gonna need to change. This uses the old system as well. In fact, the mesh collider component itself is actually gonna change. So let's maybe start on that. Because currently we have all of these values. And this is gonna change to basically take a handle to the collider asset instead of the mesh. And in fact, submesh index and that flag are pointless. We'll still want a kind of material, like let's call it override material. Because you can set a material on the asset, but you may want to kind of override that per instance. Override mesh. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, to be honest. Because you would just change the mesh in the asset itself, right? So if you wanted to override the mesh, because, okay, the way I kind of want this to work is you should still be able to just add a mesh collider component to an entity without creating an explicit asset, and it should kind of use the collider, the collision mesh will essentially be the render mesh, and it will use the default settings. But if you want to override the mesh or change any of the settings, you have to create an asset. And I think that will work nicely in most cases. Which means this goes away. And this becomes collider asset. And this will probably be kind of implicitly created at first. So if it doesn't have one, we'll just give it one. And then you can override the asset itself later on. And obviously a trigger, that's kind of per instance. Why not just use box collision after broad phase before polygon vector collision? So you mean for like, don't think I can listen to that, and I would probably get banned. I'm not entirely sure I understand what you mean, Tinspin. You mean like use box colliders for, say, raycast, texture and stuff like that, and only use mesh colliders for actual proper kind of collision tests? Thing is, I don't know that I have any control over any of that because we're using physics. I don't know, they may have a way for us to kind of improve that a bit, but I think they've done a good job of optimizing it. So this will have broken pretty much everything. Right, so we don't have this anymore. You do not give it an explicit mesh like this. Let's maybe just keep it around in case. I'm actually gonna... Wait, what? What's this? Oh. To me, all physics engines are over-engineered unless you make a Jenga game. Distance check, box collision, raycast, vector polygon, format, and as detailed as you need to be. Yeah, but the thing is, I think obviously a lot of physics libraries need to kind of be a bit more flexible. They do need to be slightly over-engineered so that they can be used for any kind of game. And they need to give the developers kind of the tools and the functionality that you need. And I personally like physics. It can be a pain sometimes, but the features that it provides me with and the detail of the library, it's really kind of just the biggest reason why I went with physics. Because arguably, have you tried Ode or Bullet? I have tried Bullet. I do like Bullet. I think it's probably one of the best physics libraries out there. But as it stands, physics is currently the industry standard. Although I think Bullet probably has some better documentation, to be honest. It's not Bullet.org, it's like PyBullet or something. Because I think Bullet like supports soft body simulations, that kind of stuff, out of the box. Yeah. My problem with physics is the license. Yeah. The license isn't the best, but I mean, like, what do you expect? It's Nvidia, you know. Actually, I need to look up what the physics license is. Well, the license for the SDK actually seems pretty solid. It's straight to the point here. Redistribution using source and binary forms with or without modification are permitted provided the following conditions are met. You know, you just need to kind of retain the copyright notice and the license itself, and you can't use the Nvidia's name to promote your product. You can definitely modify the source. It's just you have to retain the copyright notice. It literally says it right here. Well, actually, that's redistribution. This can't be the full license. This is just copyright notice. BSD3 is what they're using, which arguably is not amazing. This does not look like the full license, but sure, whatever. It's the classic BSD3. So, okay, what do we do here? We just go and cook this. This is going to be a bit more involved in the future. Same thing here, like the whole collision thing, I can just comment out. Yeah, so this is gonna change drastically. Collider. I don't want to write collider as just collider data, I guess, or collider. I mean, in the end, all the collider is literally just a mesh, right? It's a handle. The actual asset itself mainly holds some settings and a material. And these settings are only used when cooking. We're not going to be cooking it during kind of play mode, unless you're spawning it in dynamically. Now, here's where we kind of need to do something else, because we need to allow memory-only assets. Well, no, actually we don't. We don't need to allow that at all. Again, you're not going to be cooking the mesh there. at all. Because we don't need to do that. Trigger, material, we don't do that anymore. Force cook mesh. We may still want the button here. Because you may just want to kind of, it's possible that you could end up with like a bug or something. Wider acid. We can change this up to be a bit better. Yep, that's correct. Material. That's kind of the override material though. Because this is the material that you can kind of set if you don't want to use the default one. I'll just call it material still. Let's just add a quick tooltip, say overrides the material provided by the collider asset if an explicit asset has been set. Sure.
Don't come round and waste my time. A generation of my time. There is nothing we can do.
Llama Boy DK, thanks for following. Much appreciated. Also, I don't think the sound is playing. In fact, did the alert play? Yeah, I'm not sure if the alert played. Yeah, I didn't hear the alert sound either. Which is strange. Let me just check real quick. If we do a... Okay, that worked. I don't know. Maybe we just Might have just been a bit broken. Right, yeah. So we no longer have that. Instead we call it get collider handle. This is bound to be broken. Yeah. So do a verify. So materials can be interesting here because first we need to check if the collider asset provides one. So let's grab the material there. If it doesn't have one, we need to check if we have an override material. So material, it's basically the exact same thing, but it becomes component dot override material. If we still don't have one, then we need to create a default one. And assign it here. And then we need to get the mesh data. Yeah, except this wasn't... Oh no, wait, I think this actually is used. Because it's most likely used by dynamic meshes. Probably in scene. Yeah. It is used. Which really sucks, because I did not want that to be a thing. So we do have that now. Yeah, I don't like that whole thing. I'm gonna have to sit down and have a word with Jan about how we should kind of handle colliders for dynamic meshes. Because right now it's kind of a pain and it's not very intuitive. Again, this is gonna be a quick rewrite. Let's just do auto collider asset. If let's do a verify. We need to grab serializer, yeah. Yeah. Okay. What is this god awful code? Definitely been a while since I wrote this. So, if we have that, then we know it's a new component. Otherwise, we'll do an old one. And if it's a new one, it's super easy because we just do this. This will happen regardless. Jesus, what? Okay, this code is its own thing. Yeah, because material's gonna be different. So, if this is an old one, we need to go ahead and create a mesh collider asset. And it's a memory only asset. Which takes the collision mesh and a material. So if it has that, then... But if it has override mesh, we do that. Okay. Bring this up here. Collision. Glider mesh. We do that. If it's overriding the mesh, then we do collider mesh that. If yeah, I'm probably just doing assignment. Except we need to get it temporary here. And do if not override mesh. If override mesh is true, then we assign the collider mesh to this. So do collider mesh. Do that. We then want to create the asset itself, which requires the collider mesh. No, the collider mesh. And any potential material, which I suppose we could just always assign here. So we don't actually need to provide a material in here. This returns an asset handle. And only if it's a valid handle will we actually go ahead and cook. And we actually want to do technically speaking, we shouldn't be passing the asset here, we should be passing a handle. To the asset, I'll just leave a quick to do. Yeah, sure. We grab that, which we can just use asset handle. Override. And then we have trigger. Okay. If we are using a new one, however, we will need to do different serialization for the material. And submesh index is never serialized. Okay. Yeah, I actually like that quite a bit. I'm glad we decided to do this refactoring. So, where's this scene? Yeah, of course. And this is physics debug rendering. So, let's take a look. If not, collider outside, we'll just continue. So, pretty sure everything's gonna break. Right. Yeah. When we first construct it, we actually want to create an asset. And assign the mesh handle in there. So, similar to how we did it in here. And material doesn't really matter at this point in time. If the collision is valid, yeah. Okay, first of all, this go away. No need to have duplication. So, if that is valid, we need to check that we actually have. We need to check if the mesh already has a collider cooked for it. So, if collider asset and let's do a better job of copying, and we don't have a pre-cooked one. Pretty sure there's about 100 problems with the code after my changes. In fact, I'm pretty sure the whole caching system is gonna need an overhaul as well. I think that's under components in C#. Right, so we care about it being a static mesh because this. See, this is gonna change as well to use the new collider asset. But I think for now I'll just kind of hack around it to make this work. So we get that. Don't bother getting the metadata. Well, actually, we're gonna need this. And then we need to check the actual asset itself. Valid mesh. Cool. We have to repeat it. Wait, what? Yeah, we're gonna need to add some code here. Get the asset, check that. This is pretty much going to be identical to this code, for the most part. Yeah, and the whole convex versus triangle mesh, that's gonna need a big overhaul at some point as well. Right. Wait, what? Where did I just paste the code? Down here. Okay. Yeah, because the current way we kind of determine if something's convex is not correct because we just check if it's a dynamic mesh, which is not correct in any way. We should properly make sure that the mesh is actually convex, and then we have to kind of handle dynamic meshes especially. Um. We don't even need to do this. We can just do out handle. If this is valid, we just override it like that. This is gonna need to be improved as well at some point. And almost done. Okay, thanks for not working. Which is coming from sorry? Oh, it's not an optional parameter. Yeah. Make it optional. Should be fine. It's looking good. Yeah. Let's see if it works. Pretty bad it's gonna crash. Okay. That's not scary at all. It worked. So, create an empty entity. Give it a mesh. Let's start with static mesh. Old plant. Don't really care about materials right now. And I give it a mesh collider. Seems to have worked. Oh my god, it actually works. That's awesome. Save the grid. So, I think it's a static. Yeah. So, okay, for some reason this is no longer. It's probably instancing, I'm guessing. Or not. Try switch. Okay, so apparently that doesn't work anymore. But in theory, if I set this to say 0.5, cook and save, and I drag the asset in, we should see, yeah, it's a very kind of weird collider now, because the settings are in fact taking effect. Again, this bloom is insane. And here, change this to say 0.9, and we cook. It does technically fail, because it basically there's currently a bug in the engine that basically makes it so we're like leaking so much GPU RAM. And after a while, you basically have to restart when using the and now I think it updated. Cool. Now my kind of idea is that the assets in the world won't kind of update until you press save. Or maybe we have like a separate button that actually properly updates it. Currently it just overrides everything. But yeah, if I clear this, it's probably gonna break. Yeah. We obviously need to handle that. So if and my headphone battery is dying. There we go. So, if this is 0, then it cleared it. Which means we need to go ahead and recreate it. Just like we do in here. Might just be easier to kind of remove the component and re-add it, because that will automatically update this. Create a utility function, maybe? For now, I'm just gonna steal it. If right, let's grab the first entity. Well, because we kind of want to do this per entity. To be honest. So if it's 0 here, because if we have a bunch of entities that all have different meshes, we need to go in and do this. Kind of update them to correspond to the correct mesh. Purple Elf rating with a part of 28. Thank you so much, man. Hope you had a good stream. What's up, all of Purple Elf's viewers? Welcome to the stream. Currently working on some physics refactoring, which is proving kind of painful. Well, more like annoying. So we've created Hazel, we'll grab it. We don't have access to physics system. Do that. Otherwise, ECS is poor man's functional programming. I mean, you're not wrong, but I do quite like ECS to some degree at least. It can get a bit annoying at times. Because you end up with things like this. Absolutely humongous functions and stuff that just deal with random stuff. Probably going for surgery tomorrow. Oh, well, good luck. I hope everything goes as planned. Should work. But yeah, hopefully the surgery goes fine and hopefully there's no complications. Pingling Sing, thanks for following. Much appreciated. So, bring up the collider view. If I clear it, we still have that. Yam Guru Nath, thanks for following me. Yeah, that works, which is what I wanted. That's an absolutely huge collider. Yeah, that's nice. And if I duplicate this, doesn't seem to be referencing the correct collider. let's test that. Bring this up to 0.75. No, it is. It is referencing the correct collider, it's just not showing the name of it for some reason. Which is strange. Well, it may not actually be referencing the correct collider. At least not the correct instance. I think that's what's happening here. I think it gets its own instance, but it's still referencing the exact same data. Now the thing is, it shouldn't be getting its own instance. It should be duplicating the actual handle as well. So why is that not a thing? Oh. It's because of this absolute garbage. Yeah. We should check that we already have one. Well, that we don't already have one. So... because if we duplicate, it should already exist by this point. So we go, if we have a valid asset, we fail. And down here we have to re-grab it. That should probably fix that, I think. If the end duplication works the way I would expect it to work. So that still has the player. We duplicate. Player, yep, that fixed it. Cool. Now I think even if I clear this, so it has its own instance, if I go and update this one to be 0.1, yeah, it still updates because it's referencing the same collider cache file. Which... do we want that? I don't think we do. I think this one shouldn't be affected by this asset, which means we're gonna have to do a massive overhaul of the cache system as well. Let's go ahead and add that to the list as well. Fix collider cache to work with new collider asset system. Well, collider asset. Fun. What was I working on? This. Yeah, so that's the big question, I guess. We're gonna have to test a proper scene. So, in theory, this should mostly work in this scene without any issues, right? And it does. I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure that this is muted, because otherwise it will sound terrible, for me at least. Yep, and it works perfectly. Awesome. Good to know I did not break things completely. Also, that sun glare is problematic. Don't think there's much I can do about it though. Okay. That now mostly works. There's probably going to be some issues, but for now it's functional. Fix debug visualization in edit play mode. I think in edit mode it's fine. Looks fine at least. But in play mode, it's not fine. There's definitely some weirdness going on here. So let's investigate. That would be in debug. If it's runtime, it uses the entity transform. And if it has a rigid body component. King's Yard, thanks for following. Much appreciated. So, yeah, I think it's because this should only be the case for dynamic actors, most likely. Ah, you're from Sweden. Awesome. I think we actually have quite a few people from Sweden who watch the streams here. So, okay, let's take a look. I think one of the problems is this would be given a static. Okay, there are so many colliders, it's practically impossible to see what's going on here. I think, do these trees have colliders? Does this have a collider? No, it straight up doesn't have a collider. Or what? What collider exists in this location? So it's, let's see where it was, over here. It's probably the tree. Because some of these colliders are rendered correctly. So this tree, for an example, its collider is rendered correctly. The lampposts are drawn correctly. It has to be... Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. Might just be mesh colliders. Okay, what happens if I do this? Just always use the world space transform. Could potentially be sphere colliders as well. Because I actually have no idea what's going on here. There's definitely some weirdness, because this works. Sort of. But the trees, which are mesh colliders, they don't have a collider. Huh? What? Okay, there was definitely some weirdness happening here. I guess their colliders just got yeeted into the void or something. Same thing with the ground plane. Which is weird. Oh, maybe because it serializes the collider. Yeah, I think I know what's happening here. It's because it's a memory-only asset, and we tried to serialize it, but of course, on the next go around, it won't exist. Okay, but let's have a look here. This looks correct to me. What if we grab a light post and make it a dynamic actor and just drop it? Give it a rigid body, dynamic, don't really care. Well, would be good if I could find it. Where is the player? The player's over there. Yeah, I mean, this looks correct. So I don't know why we have that old code. Maybe we needed it in the past when... yeah, I think that's what's happened here. We used to require the old code for the transform because we used to, at some point, include some weird transformation in the actual shape. Pretty sure that's what was happening here. Cool. So now to take a look at scene serializer, because what's happening is here we are always serializing this, which is not correct because it's a memory only asset, and so it won't have the correct handle on the kind of next session. So we could always serialize this and then just check if it's a valid asset. If it isn't, we recreate it. Or we could just not serialize it if it is a memory only asset. And I think I'm going for that first option where we just ignore it and recreate it if it doesn't exist. Because we don't do any kind of validation in here. Hungry Hippo, thanks for following. Love that name, by the way. I've never understood what Hungry Hippo is. Like, is it a game or some kind of thing like that? Or is it like a show or something? I've heard it mentioned just so many times. It's a game released by Hasbro a long time ago, yeah. Let's see. Yes, I'm googling Hungry Hippo. $1967. Wow, yeah. Oh, hang on. Yeah, I think I know what that is. I've seen like just a ton of rip-off games that do the same kind of thing. So, to recreate it, we need to, once again, duplicate this code. I'm definitely gonna make that into a utility function. Deserialized entity. And we need physics system. So in theory, this should be it. And everything seems to have the proper colliders. Now there was some weirdness with the sphere colliders at one point. Something about their offset not being serialized, but I think they are. Well, we at least read it in. Yeah, we definitely write that out. So maybe I fixed it. So that's fixed. Show the debug mesh for the selected actor could be useful if you want to take a look at the mesh collider for a single actor, instead of having to be blinded by the absolute wireframe madness when you press Ctrl V. Because like if I'm trying to focus on, say, well, I don't know, might be useful, but I don't think it's a big problem. It's just a blue plane. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's... I don't know that that's actually necessary. Could be useful, I suppose, but maybe we'll make it like an option. Make mesh colliders non-exclusive sometimes. Yeah. I think if... So currently the way it's working is the actual colliders themselves, like all of these trees have individual copies of the collider data, from what I understand. If we take a look under physics shapes, yeah, they basically have individual shapes, which we definitely want sometimes, but not always. Sometimes we want them to be kind of shared between actors to kind of save on memory and performance. I've had some problems getting that working, but I'm probably gonna give that a shot at some point this week, because it would save quite a bit of memory, especially when you're dealing with like very detailed mesh colliders. I'm not sure if it will do anything for like performance in terms of like collision performance, but it might. But yeah, now this seems to mostly be working now. Everything's rendered correctly. You can't fit through that door, which I guess is fine. So yeah. I think I'm actually gonna go ahead and end the stream right about now. I'll probably just go ahead and push. I actually forgot to push my previous changes. Well, doesn't really matter. But yeah, so I'm gonna be streaming tomorrow as well. Probably from like 1 p.m. or something like that, my time. I have a schedule. I might be like an hour or so late. This is not all the changes. Stop lying. There we go. But I'm probably gonna be streaming like the entire week, working on physics. So I guess if you enjoy physics, great. If you don't, well, sorry. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end here. Hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow. But until then, have a good night, and see you guys later. Bye bye.